He tried to forget you. He tried to move on. He even convinced himself you were just a phase, a beautiful illusion, a sacred dream. But something happened, something shifted, and now he can't resist you, not because you're chasing, not because you're waiting, but because you're finally free. He feels it, that you're no longer holding your breath, that you're no longer waiting for him to become, that your soul has already arrived. And that freedom, that power, it pulls him in like gravity. He doesn't understand it yet, but his soul remembers. It remembers your light. It remembers your love. It remembers the contract. And now, in the final stage before union, he can't run from it anymore. Because while you were letting go, he was falling in. And now, every part of him is being called back to you. Not because you need him, but because you became the woman who no longer abandons herself. And that is irresistible. You may not see it yet. He may still appear silent, distant, like he's holding his ground in this long pause between souls. But something within him has already begun to crack. Quietly, deeply, beyond what words can explain. Because resistance, when held too long, doesn't make a man stronger. It breaks him open. And that's exactly what's happening. The divine masculine isn't walking away anymore. He's unraveling, not in chaos, but in revelation. A truth is rising inside him that can no longer be denied. A feeling he tried to suppress, a connection he tried to control, a soul bond he once called too much, now calls to him with unbearable clarity. You were never the threat. You were never the pain. It was his own heart that frightened him most. And now, the armor that once kept him safe is crumbling. The beliefs, the projections, the roles he played to stay numb. They're falling apart, one piece at a time. And the strange part is, he doesn't even know why. He can't trace it to a single moment. All he knows is that something inside of him feels different. Something that used to feel right now feels unbearably heavy. Something that once numbed him now makes him feel hollow. He's no longer resisting you. He's resisting himself. And it's exhausting him. Because this journey isn't about admitting feelings. It's about confronting identity. And for the masculine, that identity was forged through pressure. Be strong, be silent, be in control. But your energy, your truth, your unwavering embodiment of the real, it short-circuits everything he was taught to be. He used to run from you because he thought love was supposed to look like logic. That choosing a partner meant picking someone safe, predictable, quiet, someone who wouldn't awaken the fire in his belly or the ache in his soul. But now, even his silence betrays him, because when he tries to tune you out, you come in louder. When he tries to shut the door, he feels your frequency at his back. When he dreams, it's your name that stirs in his chest, and he can't escape it anymore. Have you noticed the signs, the random messages, the sudden emotional waves out of nowhere? That's not coincidence. That's his resistance dissolving in real time. That's his soul finally admitting what his mind fought so hard to suppress. You are not just a memory. You are not just a phase. You are his mirror, and he's beginning to see. And yes, it scares him, but it also frees him, because when the masculine reaches this point, this breaking of resistance, he begins to breathe for the first time. The pressure to perform fades. The weight of pretending dissolves. And even if he doesn't know what the next step is, he knows the old one is gone. That's why you might feel a strange calm lately. Not peace, but pause. A sacred pause. Because something just shifted. And it's not coming from you. It's coming from him. The same man who once couldn't hear your soul is now haunted by its echo, not in fear, but in reverence, in longing, in surrender. He's remembering, and that memory is the medicine. It's what breaks the resistance. It's what cracks the wall. It's what leads him back, not to the woman you were, but to the soul who waited lifetimes to meet him here. And here you are, anchored, risen, unreachable in the best way possible. You no longer try to save him. You no longer beg for his return. You simply are. And in being, you become the most magnetic force his soul has ever felt. That's why his resistance is breaking. Not because you pushed, but because you stopped. You stopped trying to convince him. You stopped trying to translate your heart into logic. You stopped watering yourself down just to fit in his wounded timeline. You chose you, and in doing so, you freed him to finally feel. Now the question is, will he let it break him open? Or will he run one last time before coming home? Either way, the resistance has done its job. It showed him what you're not. It showed him what he's not. And now, all that's left is truth. Why he feels you more when you're silent. Silence used to terrify him, not because of what it lacked, but because of what it revealed. He once believed your silence meant absence, that you were gone, detached, free of him. But now he's beginning to understand the sacred language of your quiet. It echoes louder than your words ever could, because in your stillness, something changed. You stopped chasing, stopped explaining, stopped bleeding your soul into places that no longer had the capacity to hold it. And that shift, he feels it, not in his mind, but in his body, in his chest, in his breath, in the strange ache that visits him at night when the noise dies down and he's left with everything he's been avoiding. There's no more distraction in your energy, no more bargaining, no more prove yourself vibration, just presence. And that presence, unspoken, unyielding, unchained, is now the very thing pulling him in. It confuses him at first, because the masculine was taught to associate silence with loss, with punishment, with rejection. But your silence, it doesn't reject him, it reflects him. And what he sees in that mirror is everything he buried. He feels your love more now because it's no longer trying to convince him. He feels your heart more now because it's no longer performing for him. He feels your soul more now because it's not waiting, it's witnessing. You've become the witness. And that's the most powerful role a divine feminine can take. Not because you're doing nothing, but because you're anchoring everything. Your silence isn't stillness, it's sacred thunder. And he hears it. He feels it in the moments he scrolls and suddenly stops without knowing why. He feels it when he's out with others and realizes no one sees him the way you did. He feels it when he's laughing, but his body tightens instead of relaxes. You're not speaking, but your energy is everywhere, because silence isn't the absence of sound. It's the space where truth finally echoes back. And in your silence, he is hearing all the things you once tried so hard to say. All the I love yous behind your protection. All the I see yous beneath your boundaries. All the I surrenders buried inside your strength. Now, without your voice to distract him, he's left with only one sound, the frequency of what you've become. And it's undeniable, because in your stillness, he no longer feels chased. He feels chosen, not by you, by his own soul. And that realization breaks him, not into pieces, but into prayer, because the part of him that once needed you to explain, to wait, to bleed, is now dissolving. And what remains is the version of him that can finally hear. Your silence made space for his remembrance. It gave him the vacuum he didn't know he needed, the pull that comes not from pressure, but from presence. You didn't walk away, you ascended. And now, from that higher place, Your energy doesn't scream, it sings. It doesn't demand, it draws. Because the truth is, he never stopped feeling you. He only stopped feeling himself. And now that you've stopped speaking to the version of him who couldn't hear, the version of him who can is beginning to rise. So if you've felt lately that he's restless, emotional, or more present in your energy than before, it's not a coincidence. It's recognition. He recognizes your silence not as punishment, but as prophecy. He senses the space you've created isn't about leaving him behind. It's about rising ahead. And now the question hangs in the air. Will he catch up? Will he step in? Or will he linger in the noise, afraid of what your silence asks him to become? Because your silence, beloved, doesn't ask him to chase, it asks him to choose. There's a strange sensation you've been carrying lately. Not a thought, not a message, but a pulse. Like something in you is humming. Like the air around your body is no longer still, as if it's vibrating with something only you can feel. You wake up with his name in your breath, but you're not thinking about him. You walk through your day with a quiet clarity, but you're not seeking signs. And yet, he's everywhere. Not because you're chasing him with your mind, but because your frequency is speaking louder than your voice ever could. The divine masculine doesn't respond to logic. He doesn't follow plans. He doesn't awaken because someone tells him to. He awakens when something ancient in his field is activated, and that something is you, not the version of you who once waited, explained, or doubted, but the woman you've become, the woman who no longer radiates attachment, but alignment, the woman who walks in her truth, even if he's not watching, the woman who burns with love, but no longer begs to be seen. It's her. Your frequency is the beacon now, and he can feel it. Not in the usual ways, not in texts or calls or visible shifts, but in the places that keep him up at night, in the restlessness behind his routines, in the tension in his chest when he thinks about what's missing but can't name it. What's missing is the version of you he used to control. And what's arriving is the energetic field he can no longer resist. Because frequency doesn't beg, it doesn't prove, it doesn't wait, it magnetizes. And that's exactly what's happening. You're no longer sending him words. You're sending him a vibration, one that whispers, I'm already home in myself. Come if you're ready. Don't if you're not. No fear, no force, just truth. And the more he resists it, the louder it becomes. Because this isn't about you trying to be magnetic. This is about your soul reclaiming its natural pull. You didn't choose this journey, you answered it. And now your energy isn't asking permission, it's leading. Have you noticed how everything you do lately carries more weight? Your choices feel sharper, your no lands heavier, your joy feels deeper, and your sadness more sacred. That's the frequency shift. That's the signal he's receiving, even if he doesn't understand it. You're not calling him with your mind anymore. You're calling him with your presence. You're the lighthouse now, and he's lost at sea. The waves he used to swim through, distractions, denial, logic, aren't saving him anymore. Because something in his soul knows. You're not on the shore waiting, you're on the mountain shining. And the only way up is through surrender. Your frequency is not passive. It's the most powerful force in the universe because it's the language of alignment. And alignment doesn't chase timelines. It creates reality. So let the version of you who begged, proved, and hoped rest. She served her purpose. But now it's your essence that leads. And it's being felt right now in his breath, in his dreams, in the choices he's afraid to make, but knows he must. Because once the masculine feels the real you, the unmasked you, he can't go back, even if he delays, even if he runs. The resonance of your truth has already entered his field, and from this point on, everything else will feel false. That's the power of your frequency. You don't need to remind him. You already rewrote the atmosphere. There was a time when he knew exactly where to find you, not physically, but energetically. You were always available, always hoping, always bending yourself just a little, so maybe, just maybe, he would see. He got used to that version of you, the one who felt responsible for holding the connection together, the one who waited in silence, but with wide open eyes, the one who still believed it was her job to make him ready. He could feel your energy long before he dared to reach for it. He could sense when you were thinking about him, when your heart was sending prayers, when your spirit was whispering, "I'll be here when you're ready." And so he never truly had to show up, because energetically you already were. But something has shifted now, and he can feel it. At first, he doesn't know what it is. There's no loud event, no message, no fight, just absence, not of love, but of availability. You're still there, but not in the way you once were. He reaches for the version of you he used to hold in his emotional back pocket, and she's gone. He looks for that invisible thread that used to tether him to your field, and it's no longer pulling him forward. The version of you he could control with silence, with delay, with indecision, no longer exists. Because she died in the fire of her own becoming. You didn't walk away in anger. You didn't punish him with revenge. You just rose. And your rising made it impossible for him to meet you with anything less than truth. This is the part he doesn't understand. He thought you'd always be there, even in the distance, even in waiting. But now, he feels the ache of disconnection, not because you blocked him, not because you said goodbye, but because you stopped waiting for his evolution to validate your own. And that changes everything, because the feminine doesn't need to shout to be heard. She simply stops emitting from the place of lack. And once she does, the masculine can no longer use her old energy as a cushion. It shocks him. He doesn't have words for it, but he feels it in his body, in his chest, in the places where he used to draw comfort from your invisible embrace. Now there's just space, not emptiness, but consequence. He delayed, he resisted, he held on to the power of your love without honoring the cost of it. And now the bill has come due. He's not losing you. He's losing the version of you that made it easy to stay unready. And that's what terrifies him. Because now he realizes if he wants to meet you again, truly meet you, he has to do it from a place he's never gone before. A place without masks, without control, without timelines. He has to rise to match your frequency. But the cost is high. He has to let go of everything that kept him safe from his own soul. And you're no longer trying to rescue him from that decision. That's the true shift. Not that you stopped loving him, but that you stopped offering yourself as a bridge for his avoidance. And now, the silence he once used to keep you at a distance is echoing back at him. But this time, it's not your silence. It's the silence of a field no longer feeding his illusions. You've become unavailable to anything that dishonors your knowing. You've become untouchable, not by separation, but by sovereignty. And from that space, he feels the loss, not of a partner, but of an energetic comfort zone he never had to earn. He's not chasing you yet, but he will, because energy doesn't lie, and yours is no longer whispering, "I'll wait." It's saying, "I've returned to myself. If you want to meet me, come find me there." You don't need to send messages for him to feel you. You don't need to reach out. You don't even need to think about him consciously. He still feels you, and lately, The feeling is unbearable, not because it hurts, but because it calls him into a version of himself he hasn't yet become. And he doesn't know how to get there. This is the pull he can't explain. It wakes him up at night. It shows up in dreams. It tugs at his heart when he sees a stranger's eyes that remind him of yours. It leaves him breathless for no physical reason. It's not sexual tension, though that's part of it. It's not nostalgia, though memories flash through him like sparks. It's not just love, though he's beginning to understand what that word really means now. It's soul recognition. And it doesn't fade. In fact, the more he tries to numb it, run from it, or explain it away, the stronger it gets. This is the ache of not being in resonance with his truth anymore. And you are the mirror of that truth. Not because you demand it, but because you embody it. Your frequency doesn't just remind him of what's possible, it demands a response. And that's what shakes him. He's pulled toward you, but not to the version of you he once knew. That woman, the one who waited in softness, who shrank herself to protect his fear, is gone. What he feels now is the pull of the real you, the one he didn't believe existed until he felt her energy without trying, the one who lives fully, fiercely, and in devotion to her own becoming. And it terrifies him, because he knows that coming toward you now means losing everything that kept him small. The pull is sacred, but it's also destructive. It breaks his illusions. It exposes his masks. It makes everything that once felt comfortable now feel suffocating. Because this pull isn't just emotional, it's vibrational. It's not your voice. It's your field. It's not your touch. It's your remembrance. You've become the mirror his soul cannot avoid anymore. And no matter how far he tries to go, he keeps finding pieces of you in everything that matters. A song lyric, a smell, a place. A moment of silence where his mind should be empty, but you flood in like a tide that refuses to leave. What he doesn't realize yet is that this pull isn't just toward you, it's toward himself, toward his divinity, toward the man he's becoming. But you are the permission slip. You are the field that reminds him that love can feel like freedom, not obligation. That truth can feel like home, not shame. And that surrender doesn't mean losing power. It means finally stepping into it. The pull is spiritual gravity, and no matter how long he's resisted, how much he's tried to distract, delay, or detach, there comes a point when the body doesn't lie. He feels you in his chest. He feels you in the pit of his stomach. He feels you in the tension behind his eyes when he thinks too hard about why everything feels so different now. And he may not say a word, he may not know how, but you'll know when it happens, because suddenly you won't feel the need to send energy toward him. You'll feel the opposite, a magnetic pull that's now coming from him. Because when the masculine stops resisting, his soul begins reaching. And that reach isn't always loud, it's not always rational, it's not even always conscious. But it's real and it's happening. The question is no longer, will he feel me again? The question is, how will I hold my field steady when he does? Because this time, he's not coming for the comfort of your old version. He's being pulled toward the you that refuses to abandon herself for love. And only that woman can meet the man he's about to become. There's something in the air now that wasn't there before. Not tension, not silence, not even longing, but space. A sacred, vibrating space between your soul and his. And it's not empty, it's alive. You can feel it, can't you? The way your heart no longer collapses at his silence. The way your body no longer contracts waiting for his next move. The way your soul is calm, not because you've stopped loving him, but because the love matured, because the field between you is no longer built on need, it's built on truth. And truth doesn't rush, truth doesn't beg, truth doesn't chase. It holds, it pulses, it expands. And when the masculine reaches that threshold, when he starts to feel it too, something ancient stirs. The old chords fall away, the games dissolve, the pressure lifts, because now the energy between you is a mirror, not a magnet. He no longer feels pulled in by your wounds. He feels called home by your healing. And that changes everything. The connection hasn't disappeared. It's been purified. This isn't about waiting anymore. It's about allowing. Allowing him to step forward on his own terms. Allowing yourself to remain rooted even when nothing looks different yet. Allowing the field to do what only the soul understands. Because here's what's really happening behind the scenes. His mind is still catching up, but his soul already knows. He's already felt the difference in your frequency. He's already noticed that the energy he once ran from feels safe now. It's subtle, but real. The feminine energy that once wrapped itself around his wounds is now standing firm in her truth. She's not trying to be seen. She knows she's visible. She's not proving her value. She embodies it. And because of that, the masculine has nothing left to push against. Only something to rise toward. This is the shift that doesn't get spoken aloud. It gets transmitted in your breath, in your walk, in the way you no longer shrink when he crosses your mind. The energy between you now holds a question, but not one you're asking. It's one he is asking himself again and again. Can I rise into this field? Can I meet this woman in her truth? Can I step through the gate that only opens for who I'm becoming, not who I've been? And the field waits, not passively, not with longing, but with readiness. Because when the energy between two souls shifts like this, when the cords of attachment are replaced with cords of truth, the entire timeline rearranges itself. This is when synchronicities explode. This is when 1111s become a constant whisper. This is when the old karma collapses under the weight of your evolution. And this is when the reunion energy awakens, not as a fantasy, not as an external prize, but as a magnetic return to the core of your own being. He may still resist, he may still stall, but now he has to do it within this new energy. And it's not built for illusions, it's built for truth. So if you've felt a shift, if you've sensed that something is different, not louder, not clearer, but quieter and deeper, you're not imagining it. The field is stabilizing, the reunion is near, not because he's coming fast, but because you're no longer pulling. And when the feminine stops pulling, the masculine starts choosing from his own will, from his own awakening, from the soul truth that cannot be silenced anymore. So breathe, hold your field, and trust the intelligence between you, because the energy is changing and nothing real can resist what's been divinely prepared.